So guys, now what are we gonna do is we're gonna add one more bot, and I'm gonna name him bot2. This will be bot1, or actually just one like this, bot2. I'm gonna reposition my bot2 where what is wrong with this visual? So 0 and again 0 here. I don't remember when I moved it, but I guess I did somewhere. So yeah, we're gonna do that. One thing I want to mention in our previous video, if you skip the thing, I have added onto our bot the slide function. So what will this do? I'm gonna go briefly to it. If you're not lazy, just go back to the video and watch it till the end. What we added is we added onto this wall the slide. So where is the slide? Because when we play and when we don't have the slide, our bot will recognize it as a wall and it will start jumping around. But when it's slide, he will start sliding and then he can go through a loop. So what we did, we just tagged this with the slide. We got onto our bot AI controller, checked if it's slide and our character is grounded, we're gonna turn around. Else if it's just slide, then what we're gonna do, we're gonna say wall slide equals true. Now I'm having difficulties with my player. I'm just gonna check wall slide. No exit time, no exit time, and no exit time. So yeah, everything's good. But I'm having problem with my player, so let me check that real quick. What did I do wrong? Okay, I said here and, I have to see here or. So this is and what will this do? This has to be true and this has to be true, so we can proceed with this. But if I add two pipelines, then this means or, same as here, if we press space or if we click our mouse. So if we touch the wall or if we touch the slide, we will be able to jump. So that's all I want to mention this video. One more thing is I want to position them at 14, 14, 14. They're all at the same position. And I'm going to change the color for my bot2. You can change to AI2 or AI3 depending on what you like. I choose AI2 because this is yellow and I like yellow. I don't want my bot to be green, same as my background. So right now, even though they don't look like they're positioned at the same, but they should be. So 0, there's 0, so okay, 0 here, there's 0, visual here, come on, bam, bam, bam. Everything has to be nicely done. Yep. So right now we position them. What I'm gonna do is I am gonna make them an empty game object, reset position, and I'm gonna call this runners, where I'm gonna add them in. So I'm gonna add my player, bot1 and bot2 inside of the runners tab, and I'm gonna make him go a bit behind, so somewhere around here. And the same thing will go for my main camera. I'm gonna make it go a bit onto the x-axis like this. This should be fine. And now what we are going to do, we are going to add the finish line and some checkpoints. So that is the goal for this video. So let's get started by adding the finish line. So let's create an empty game object, reset position. I'm going to call it, come on, outside of that. What's going on? Like this. I'm going to call it finish. I'm going to go to the FBX objects, OBJ. We have the finish, which we're going to add inside of it. Reset its position, and here we have our finish line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a box collider. So box collider. And where is my box collider? Okay, it's here. I'm going to pump him up on the Y and on the Z. So hold on alternative so you can make it up here. I'm going to make it bigger so our player cannot jump out of it. And I'm going to position it onto the X a bit in front. So something like this should work. But what's the deal? The deal is our finish line should actually be at 90 degrees onto the Y, not only the X. Am I right? I think I'm right. Just a second. Yep, I'm right. This is how it should be. So what will this do? This means we have to change this and we have to add this like so. So we're gonna make it a bit more onto the X and onto the Z. I hope, yeah, this is the Z. I'm gonna scale it down and I'm gonna position it up front onto the z-axis, so when we touch the finish line we will recognize the finish. Now I can move out of the way like here, and I think it's kind of too big, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scale it down, but I'm not gonna scale the finish line over here. I'm actually gonna scale just this over here, so I'm gonna make it a bit tinier like this and a bit resizable, so it looks onto the something that is looking cool. And right now we have the same exact thing, except I have to change again the z. One thing I should have done is actually make this a one thing, not a two separate things, but never mind it. I mean, I can do that right now. I can make this finish, I can delete it, I can make it as original object, and I can add here a box collider. This, position it upwards, raise the y, y is here, make it onto this, and then do this. Yep, this actually works better in my opinion. If you want to do anything else, you can do it. One more thing that is important to do is to make it a trigger. What is the difference between a box collider that is a trigger and that is not a trigger? Well, basically, if we have our runners, and I'm going to put them here, and we have our finish line to be not trigger and click play, look what's going to happen. They're going to bump into it, but as soon as I click on trigger, they can pass through it. So this on trigger, what will it do? It will basically be invisible, but you can check if something passes through. So that is the logic behind the on trigger. So we're going to check if we pass through this, that means we have passed one lap. So this is for the finish line. What else are we going to add? We are going to add an empty game object, which will be our checkpoints. So checkpoints. Then we're going to add an empty game object, add a box collider, then resize it. Let me see. We're going to resize it like this and then like this. Not every checkpoint is going to be the same. So something like this should actually work. Can I just find my way? Okay, I can. I'm going to call this checkpoint 1. Now I can move it. My checkpoint 1 will be at the same location as where it's ending, so right here on the finish line. And I'm going to talk about the logic of it later on. I do want to make it a bit bigger so you cannot jump over it, but I think it's cool. And I'm going to duplicate this one. This is going to be checkpoint 2, 90 on the X or on the Y or on the Z. Okay, it's on the Z. I'm going to make it up here. So when we pass this, then we're going to check. We're going to have checkpoint 2. And again, I'm going to duplicate checkpoint 1 and I'm going to make it somewhere around here. Or actually, maybe here should be fine. Okay, maybe here. Why not? Then I'm going to have checkpoint 3. And I'm going to duplicate the 1. This will be our last checkpoint, which will be the same exact thing, but on the other side, checkpoint 4. So these are our checkpoints that we're going to use, and this will help us determine who is first, who is the last, who is second. Yep, but it goes first, second, and last. Never mind. So what are we going to do? All of them are going to be same as our finish. They're going to be a trigger. And we're going to add them some scripts. So let's go back to asset, scripts, and we're going to have a folder, which will be, let's say, level scripts, because they're affecting the level. So C# script, this one will be our checkpoints, and the other one will be current checkpoint. So current checkpoint. So now let me talk about what are we going to do, the logic behind this, and let's do it. First of all, we have our 4 checkpoints. Then we're going to initialize them as 1, 2, 3, and 4. Depending if they're 1, they're going to have the number 1. If they're second, they're going to have the number second. And what are we going to do is we're going to check at what current checkpoint are we on. If we are at 1, and our second bot is at checkpoint 3rd, it means he's in front of us. So based on that, our bot will be in front of our player. Now what if our checkpoint 1 and we're at the same checkpoint 1, Then we're going to determine how far away are we from that checkpoint. Who is the furthest away or farthest away will be at the first place. And then last but not least, what if I'm at checkpoint 4 and he's at checkpoint 1, but I'm at a different lab, so I passed the whole level and then I'm still in front of him, but now I'm at checkpoint 1. Then we're gonna detect whenever we pass the lab point, we're gonna make him we're gonna make a bigger value for everyone that passes the lab point that you're gonna see later on. And to do it, we're gonna add a current checkpoint to all of this. So I'm gonna rename it so it's not current, but come on, what? Current, like this, current. Yep, current checkpoint. Copy this, go into the script, open it up, and let's rename it current checkpoint. Our current checkpoint will have only one value, which will be our public integer current checkpoint. So checkpoint like this and semicolon. Then we're gonna have the checkpoints, which will be the parent, so checkpoints like this. I did not add them. Current checkpoint. And then we're gonna go on to our current checkpoint. And what are we gonna do here? First of all, we are gonna initialize the public. It doesn't have to be public. I think it can be private, but here I made it public, so I'm gonna use public checkpoints like this, an array of game objects, hide in inspector. That is what are we gonna do. So we're gonna reference them, and then we're gonna have a public integer integer current checkpoint like this, and add the semicolon. By default, this is 1. As I said, by default, it's 1, and we are good to go. I'm gonna do the exact same thing, hide in inspector. Inside of our start, which I'm gonna transfer to awake like this, what are we gonna do? We're gonna reference our checkpoints by saying checkpoints equals to game objects dot find game objects, so plural, so multiple game objects with tag checkpoint, and then add the semicolon. After that, we are gonna make sure that our current checkpoint is at 1. After that, in the update function, or actually in the start function, we're not gonna have update. We're gonna say for each game object, so for each game object, which will be our checkpoint, inside of checkpoints. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna say that our checkpoint dot add component, and we're adding current checkpoint, open close parentheses, then checkpoint dot get component, and we're getting, or actually we added that, so we don't need to add it one more time, but we're gonna do what? We're gonna say get component, current checkpoint, open close parentheses dot checkpoint number. So this is number here, checkpoint and number like this, copy, paste it, equals to current checkpoint, and add the semicolon. After that, checkpoint dot name, I'm gonna rename them to checkpoint plus our current checkpoint, and after we're done, we're gonna say current checkpoint plus semicolon. One more thing, I am gonna add them because it's gonna be a lot easier. I mean, it's not big of a job to actually go and add them, but it's a lot easier just to add checkpoints and then add the checkpoint parent to it. Now let me explain what's going on. First of all, we have our checkpoint that we initialize, reference all of our checkpoints with the tag checkpoints that we're gonna add. So checkpoint, am I right? Checkpoint, yep. Add the checkpoint tag, and we're gonna search for all of the objects that we have that are called checkpoint. After we find them, we are gonna say that our current checkpoint equals to 1. So we're gonna start from 1. For each loop, what it does, it goes for every game object, which will be called CP in the checkpoints. So every CP means the first time it runs, it will be this checkpoint. The second time it runs, it's going to be this one. The third third time it runs, it's going to be this one, and the last time it runs, it's going to be this one. So what's going on? For every checkpoint that we have in the checkpoint, we're going to add the component current checkpoint. Then we're going to get the component we have, and we're going to add the number that we currently have. We're going to rename it, and we're going to increase the current checkpoint. So this will pass. So this will go from one checkpoint. It's going to initialize this. After it's done with the first one, it's going to go past to another one. So if I click play, you're going to see that we're going to have checkpoint 1, which is going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can see I can rename this to whatever I want. It doesn't really matter. If I click play, they recall checkpoint 1, 2, and 3, and 4. I renamed them because I like being like that. I mean, I can duplicate this as much as I want, and then I can add it. Now I'm gonna end it here because this is just a preparation for the next video, which will be what? Which will be detecting where our player is currently at. When he will touch the finish line, we're gonna detect that. When he touches the checkpoint, we're gonna detect that, and based on where he currently is will be his ranking on the leaderboard. So yeah guys, that will be it for this video. Hope you like it, and I will see you in the next one.